Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. I can't believe we're on episode 10 of number 6. We've only got this episode and one more. It doesn't feel finished. It feels like I really liked the last episode. I liked it a lot. But, I mean, episode 8 had a lot of exposition and a lot of things happening. And in this last episode, with the cleaning duty and them getting transported to the correctional facility, everything happened really quickly. And I'm not saying it was rushed, but I think knowing in the back of my head that they've only got 2 more episodes to go of this anime, but we still have 5 volumes of manga worth of content to cover, I think that's what makes me feel like it's rushed. And I hate that because I've really, really enjoyed this series and I still like it. I think it's my preconceived notion that it's ending quickly is making me feel like it's ending abruptly. And so we have 2 episodes. So we basically have to build to the climax and the resolution of this whole thing. And there's still so many questions. There's a whole thing with Safu, which I said in the last reaction, I had such Akira vibes. Like she's kind of like Tetsuo, where she's become the embodiment, the vessel of this goddess Aurelius. I'm like, there's that. For the record, Nezumi has a beautiful singing voice, and him calming down the people in the truck as they're being hauled to the correctional facility. So Shion and Nezumi are in the correctional facility. They have to somehow do something, whether it's tear down the wall or breach the security system or stop the wasps or something. They have to do that this episode and next episode. Doglone and Regika still have to do whatever they're supposed to be doing and keep out of trouble. There's that. There's Shion's mom, who has just realized that the reporter's a little bit off his rocker and may be an extremist, just like the creators and founders of number 6. So there's that. There's all these factors and all these plot lines, and you're telling me that in an hour, within 2 episodes, we're gonna wrap everything up. Okay. It just it's a bittersweet vibe that this series is ending in 2 episodes, but it's bittersweet because I know that I'll still go back and read the manga and give you guys kind of an overall summary of what happens. So I will say I've read 4 volumes of number 6 so far. It's really good. It's just volumes 1 through 4 covers episodes 1 through 7 on here. So if you like episodes 1 through 7, you will like volumes 1 through 4. And so I'm really excited to see what because I'm not even halfway through the manga, and halfway through the manga was way more than halfway through the anime. So I'm really excited to see what all is still to come with the manga and tell you guys about it. But I highly recommend it. It's pretty good. And the artwork is beautiful. So yeah. I don't know what to expect at this point. I'm curious to know what Nezumi and Shion's goal is being here. I know they're here to rescue Safu. I get that. But I'm like, what else are you going to do while you're here? If it's just get Safu and get out, okay. Because that was one of their goals, was to rescue Safu and then get his mom. But I'm curious to know if the plot lines converge, how we're going to do this, what's going to happen. Yeah, and we've got this episode the next. And the preview was pretty ominous. So, yeah. But in any case, I hope you all enjoy this reaction. I can't believe it's this episode and the next, and then we're done with the anime. I can't believe that. It's a crime. So, in any case, we are going to start the reaction here to episode number 10 of number 6 here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh. Well, that preview's ominous. Ah! Oh my god, okay. Okay, sweet. Cool. So there's a lot to talk about this episode. There's a lot to talk about. And we only have 1 episode left. I definitely feel like pacing wise with this episode, the pacing was really good in this episode, surprisingly. I felt like last episode things were rushed, and I felt like with this episode, the pacing was better up until the last 2 minutes, the last 5 minutes of this episode. I felt like the pacing had been pretty good, because we are wrapping up a lot of things and we're leading to a lot of things. There's just so much left unsaid. and I have a feeling it's not going to be answered in the next episode. And so that's what really has me excited about the manga part about it, but it makes me disappointed that, like, the whole parasitic wasp thing, I feel like that plot point has kind of been not necessarily abandoned, but I feel like this whole, like, the beginning of this series, we were leading up to talking about the parasitic wasps, that the whole thing was that number 6 doesn't care that they've invaded and infected all these people, that it's gonna, when the holy day comes, people are gonna start dying left and right, and Shion's whole motivation originally to make the serum was that we've got to make this serum to stop the wasps and to save people. And so I feel like, though, that we're not going to get that resolved next episode, that whole parasitic wasp thing is going to be, like, either swept under the rug or abandoned or resolved far too quickly. Like, I'm getting that impression already, and that is a bit disheartening. So I'm hoping that the manga gives us a lot more resolution with that. So I'm excited to read the manga for that reason. The other thing is, because Shion's whole thing was, I've got to rescue Safu, I've got to rescue my mom, and I've got to stop these wasps. I think the wasp thing is going to be pushed out to the side. And it looks like the mom thing is going to be pushed out to the side too, unless it just gets resolved super quickly. The whole thing with the little girl, like, just being silent and staring and saying she's scared, like, I like the idea that children and younger people can kind of sense when something's wrong in the city. Like, they kind of have a much deeper perception about things. And so that's creepy. And then the Yaoman, the uncle of the little girl, is trying to figure out, he's clearly doing some, like, snooping, investigating stuff. I just feel like their whole plot line is going to be rushed through next episode. I don't know. I might be surprised, because we got through quite a bit this episode, and it didn't seem rushed there until the end. For the record, I love Regika and Inukashi. Like, I love the coming full circle. It makes me a little bit worried about Inukashi next episode, because there's kind of a few death flags with them thrown out this episode. Not really big death flags, but stuff that made me go, I'm worried about you, Inukashi. One, when Regika says your unparalleled greed hasn't changed at all. And so that made me think, like, Inukashi's, I don't know, it just gave me a bad vibe. And then I love the baby angle, that the baby, you know, goes to Inukashi, and Regika's like, oh, it calls you mom, and Inukashi's like, I don't want this thing, here, this is your mom, and it's the dog. It was coming full circle to when Inukashi was raised by a dog. There's this baby raised by a dog too, and the dog seems pretty protective of it. So either one, Inukashi's gonna die, and the baby's gonna get raised by the dog, and it's gonna be like a circle of life thing, and Nezumi's gonna be there to, like, sing Inukashi out, maybe. But the other thing is, maybe Inukashi lives, and them and Regika raise the baby. That would be really cute, because Regika seemed really, you know, open to having a little kid. And like I said in the episode, I don't ship Regika and Inukashi at all. I don't view them as romantically involved. I see them totally as platonic people. But I feel like they could raise a kid together in this dystopian society. And I like that it's established that this holy day, the cleaning unit thing, is something that happens frequently, or at least yearly, annually, because it makes sense why every building there in the West Block looks like a shack, or looks like it's haphazardly built, because they have to keep doing this over and over again, you know, to do that. The pile of bodies was quite disturbing. And yeah, Nezumi's worst fear is kind of realized in this episode, because in the manga, like I've said in previous reactions, Shion has this voice in his head that's telling him to be destructive, to be violent, and Shion is naturally innocent, so it's kind of a conflicting thing where the voice in his head doesn't match his actions or his seeming persona. And Nezumi is the one that seems to recognize, no, Shion is quite dangerous if he's pushed too far. And it makes sense now why Nezumi did not want Shion to come to the correctional facility, because he's like, you're somebody that I feel, you're smart, you're incredibly intelligent, you're incredibly quick-witted and has know-how to survive. He's like, I'm afraid if you're pushed in a situation of survival, you are going to go into survival mode, and it's not going to be good, because it's going to possibly change your entire perception of things. And he's kind of proven right in this moment. And I love the twist. The twist is that the dynamics totally changed this episode. Nezumi has been, from episode 1, this hardened, hard soul, like, no, things are black and white, it's us versus them, you're going to become my enemy, I don't like this, blah, blah, blah. And we've seen throughout the course of the series that, yeah, Nezumi, you can talk that and you can say that, but you actually are a little bit more compassionate than you let on, and you have a lot more emotions and compassion than you want to admit. Um, and as this episode went on, at the beginning when they're climbing up the bodies, Nezumi's like, this is just what we gotta do. We gotta do this to survive. You're gonna have to get over, which granted, Shion just throwing up because of the smell and the sight and everything. Nezumi's like, we just gotta do this. You just gotta truck through. And he starts off really strong, but as the episode goes on, their dynamics totally shift. And particularly when the guys come to get them. And so we'll get to that in just a second because I'm rewatching the episode. The sewing needle. I'm like, we see the sewing needle sticking out of the body. So are you telling me that the grandma's body was in that? Is that what you're telling me? Because if it is, nope. And that makes me a little bit sad that Aurelius has now seemingly possessed Safu completely, because that's something Safu won't get resolution on. I guess it doesn't matter at this point that her grandmother was there. But I know, I like that Inukashi and Regika are both worried about Shion because of they call him an angel. And that's another thing too that's really interesting, is the parallel of Regika calling Shion an angel, when by the end of this, Shion's the one that actually kills someone. And it's like, and so then when we get to the scene of the guys originally, of the initial guys attacking Shion and Nezumi, it didn't hit me until they were on the ladder that Nezumi shot them in like non-lethal places, like in the arm and the leg, where they could clearly survive, but they were just incapacitated. And at first you think that Nezumi's just doing it for Shion's sake, but the Shion's like, no, we had no choice, we had to do this. And that's when Nezumi's like, oh, I wasn't doing it for your sake, I was just doing it because I didn't want to kill them. And it makes you think back, and you're like, man, has Nezumi actually killed someone in this series? Or has he just been incapacitating people? And then that look, like Nezumi growing more and more concerned this episode, was really hard to watch, because Nezumi's like, I don't want you to change, Shion. I don't want you to be different than what you were when we came here. And I feel like you seeing these atrocities and you being thrust into this warlike scenario, it's going to change you. And I don't want to lose that innocent you that I've come to love. And Shion, you could just tell when Shion was like going through like the battle plan and everything, he's like, okay, we got to do this. We got to go to this floor. I've mapped out this stuff. And Nezumi's just like, oh, yeah, you remember that. Cool. Awesome. Great. Because Shion is very self-sacrificing, and he'll do anything to save the people he cares about. And so him killing that man when he shoots Nezumi, I'm not surprised that it happened. I'm surprised of Nezumi's reaction. Nezumi being the one being like, don't kill him, don't do it. And he ends up doing it. And I want to talk more about that. But the thing I'm conflicted about is that was an amazing scene of Shion coming to realize that he killed someone. Like, he just snapped in that moment because he thought Nezumi was in danger. And Nezumi's like, I didn't want you to have to kill someone, because you can't go back now. Once you've killed somebody and you know that you did it, it's like you're a changed person. He's like, and I don't want you to do that. So I love that scene, but I feel like the whole resolution of it was way too rushed. Like, they kind of sit there for a minute, and then they're like, oh, okay, we're fine. We can go on from here. And I get that they have to move forward to save Safu, but what I'm hoping to see in the manga is a lot more internalized, is to see a more internalized moment between them, and Shion coming to grips with what he's done, Nezumi talking him through it, because Nezumi may have killed people in the past, I'm not sure, but I wanted more dialogue and communication between them, and we just didn't get it this episode. So I'm hoping that we get more of that in the manga, because I want to see that expanded. If this plot, up until now, if the plot is the same in the manga as it is up until this episode, I want to see that moment expanded upon and see what happens. Because in the manga, there's a lot more things at work. Like the guys in number 6, the organization, they want to get Shion and Nezumi back, so I wonder if that's expanded upon. I feel like the Organization X has totally been abandoned from the plot at this point, so I'm hoping the manga expands on it as well, and to see that. And then Safu. Yeah, Safu's giving off really creepy Tetsuo Akira vibes. Like this goddess has totally inhabited Safu. And yeah, and it just happens to be on the holy day, and it's like, I'll give you whatever you want. And she's like, I want Shion. It's like, here's the thing. Shion's whole goal is to save Safu, his friend, which is great. And so that's what's spurning him forward, is that we're so close to saving. And that part where Nezumi looks up and he's like, why are you smiling? Like, this is a horrible situation. Why are you smiling? And Shion's smiling because he's so close to his goal and he can see it. It's going to happen. He's like, I can see that we're going to rescue her. And he's so optimistic in that moment. Despite everything else, Shion kind of like, when he gets laser focused on something, Shion like zeroes everything else out. And so Nezumi's like, And there's a part of it where Nezumi seems to be aware of maybe what's going on with Safu, because he's like, oh, am I helping lead us to her? Is this all? So the preview is quite ominous, because for a moment I wonder if the preview is suggesting that Nezumi's like, we got to kill Safu because she's got this goddess inside of her. I'm wondering because in the preview, Shion seems to get mad that Nezumi killed someone. So I'm so curious. I mean, I could see it. I could see them being like, Safu, you're inhabiting a goddess. This is not good. This will not bode well. But I'm curious how that's going to go down. Very curious. I don't know. And in the whole tank, like, who are you? And it's like, I'm you. You're Aurelius. It's like, because I'm like, is Safu? Because Safu loves Shion, and she seems to like romantically like Shion while she was human. So is Safu going to try to like take Shion away? And I'm like, how does that work? That's not going to be good. There's a lot of ominous things at work. Like, what are we doing with the mom? What are we doing with number 6 and Holy Day? Safu and has now reunited with Shion Nezumi. I'm assuming Nezumi's gonna be like, nope, this is bad. You've inhabited, a goddess has invaded your body, so there's that. And then Shion, I don't know how to read Shion at this point, because on the one hand, Shion is dedicated to Nezumi and keeping him safe. He killed a man for him, but I'm like, he's so unstable that I don't know what we're gonna do about that. I'm like, oh my gosh. There's just, I liked them infiltrating and the plan, and Nezumi's expressions this episode, just Shion's determination, and Nezumi's just like, yeah, I had a plan. We're definitely going with the plan. Sure. Okay. Good thing. And, oh God. And just, the scene where he shoots him, and Shion's like, what are you doing? Don't. And it almost seemed like Shion wasn't even listening to Nezumi. He wasn't even noticing it. He was just like, you hurt my friend. And it's like the Regika thing all over again. And then Shion snaps out of it, and he's like, oh, I killed someone. And, like, he sees the blood all over him, and, like, he snaps out of it and goes back to reality. It was a person. And Nezumi's like, it's my fault that you had to do that. Like, I burdened you with all of this. And him crying in the rain. And it's so sad to see Nezumi like that. And it calls back to, like, when he saw him bleeding in the window. Only it was kind of like, the other thing, too, is, yeah, it's a similar appearance. Nezumi bleeding in there and everything. But something I'm not crazy about is that Shion just like softly smiles and he's like, oh, Nezumi. And I'm like, dude, Nezumi is like really freaked out that you killed someone and was afraid of this happening and did not want you to change. And you've clearly, had a moment of change. And Shion's like, oh, don't cry. And I'm like, Nezumi kind of has the right to. He's, got a bleeding arm, bleeding leg, and he's worried about you. So there's that. It just felt like it was resolved way too quickly, and just to get to them getting in the elevator and going up to Safu. And I want to see more in the manga about that expanded on. That really has me wanting to read the manga. And we've got one more episode left, so I'm going to hold off and wait until after I watch the next episode and then go read the manga. And then I'll do a soapbox on the manga after the week after episode 11 airs so that you guys can, so I can talk about the manga with y'all and what is different. But yeah, so Safu like knocked these guys out and is just there, and nope. Safu's like, oh hey Shion, I've been wanting to see you. It's like, nope. I don't get good vibes from Safu at this point. Like, something about being possessed by higher deities is like, nah, I don't like it. So, oh my gosh. I just want, it's selfish of me, but I just want Nezumi and Shion to leave Safu, or Safu like ascends to be the goddess that has now inhabited her. And I wonder if Nezumi has to like shoot her to get the goddess to come out of her. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how these things work, how the logic of this show works. Y'all have said in the comments that the anime ends differently than the manga, which has me excited. Like I said way back in like episode 3 or 4, it's either going to be one of those scenarios where I like the ending of this anime and the manga, I'm like, or I don't like the ending of this anime and the manga, I'm like, okay, cool. So I don't know which it's going to be, and I won't know until I read the manga, but, oh, guys. Okay. So yeah, I'm very, very curious what we're going to do. I want to go back and look at this preview again just to see, because all the preview shows is the snow-covered wastelands. And so it sounds like Shion's, or Safu saying, you're Nezumi. Exactly, you're absolutely right, Shion. Nezumi, if you're going to die, do it on your own. And that sounded like Inukashi saying it. I've been wanting to see you, Shion. Yeah, I don't like it. And then Shion says, I'll destroy that thing, this city. I'll be the one to destroy number 6, which is such a turn of Shion saying, I'll be the one to destroy number 6. Because he was the one wanting to find the compromise. And so what happens? And everybody's like, pull yourself together. And then it sounded like Shion's voice saying, why did you kill her? It's not like the two of us were. If you all try to play this off in this show like these two aren't together, like Nezumi and Shion aren't together, I know about that. Or maybe he's referring to the fact that him and Safu weren't romantic, that they were just platonic friends. I'm like, if this show tries to pull it off that Nezumi and Shion are not romantically involved, I'm going to be kind of mad. Because they are. They totally are. I don't know. Oh, guys, I am excited, nervous, and trepidatious about the next episode, but we're here, so what can we do? So yeah, episode 11 is going to be next week, and then I'm going to follow up with the soapbox about the manga and what all was changed, altered, left out, etc. So I hope y'all enjoyed this reaction. Please feel free to comment down below. Please no spoilers, but I look forward to next week and talking with y'all. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Stay safe, take care, and I'll be back next week with episode 11 of number 6. Bye.